Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are. We are having a in-person conference this year in London, but the business meeting we're still doing virtual. So this allows people from all over the world to join the business meeting. So my name is Tony Tom. I'm the current chairperson for the Corporate Strategy IG. Here with me are our program chair, Xinzi, and also associate program chair, Arkady, in today's meeting as well. So I just want to make a brief introduction about the IG and then talk a little bit about the IG's current state of affairs. And then I'll pass on to Xinzi and then Arkady and talk about the programs and other things happening in the Corporate Strategy IG. So SMS in general, we have about 2,900 current members in the SMS. And these members are coming from 70 different countries and regions. And they include professors, business people, and also consultants from around the world. The actual conference, the actual annual conference will be happening in London from September 17th to the 20th with a topic of innovative strategies for an open world. So in our IG, we have about 620 current members. So if we do the math, it's about 22% of the SMS members, which is an impressive number for our corporate, for our IG. If we look at the new members who joined recently, we actually have about 120 members who just joined in the last year. For those members who joined our IG recently, we wanted to say welcome to our IG. We also ran a little bit of demography of the members by the continent of institutions that they are coming from. So about half or 47% of the members are from institutions in North America, and 32% from Europe, and 16% from Asia. In other parts of the world, we are a little bit underrepresented in South America, in Africa, in Australia. Next slide. So here's the officers and also the representative at large for the current 2022 team. We have 3 officers in our Corporate Strategy IG, myself, Xinzi, and Arkady, and we have 6 representatives at large at any single point in time. So 3 roles from last year, including Oliver, Katie, Zena, and 3 representatives starting from this year. And those people are Elissa, Philip, and Susan. Next slide. So the kind of activities that our Corporate Strategy IG organize include the regular conference activities and also some of the off-conference activities. So at the annual conference, we create a corporate strategy track program. And this year, Xinzi is responsible for creating the corporate strategy track program. And I'd like to acknowledge Xinzi's service and leadership in the creation of the program. In the annual conference, we also have the so-called 3 sessions of Sunday sessions. Those Sunday sessions happen on Sunday morning, and those sessions are being organized by the representatives at large. Now, in addition to those 3 Sunday sessions, we also do a paper development workshop. We joined with other divisions as well, with other IG as well. And Arkady has been overseeing the creation of those Sunday sessions and also the PTW. And he's going to talk about those things in just a little bit later. Now we have this business meeting, and this year we're running virtual. I believe and hope that for future years, the business meeting will happen in person at the conference site. In the past couple of years, the social gathering have been happening virtually. And this year is the same for our IG. So our plan for today is to have the business meeting for the first part of the session today, and then leave the other part for a social gathering in which we're going to talk about some of the questions related to corporate strategy IG in terms of research and teaching and other topics. Now, one thing I'd like to note is that in the actual conference in London, we're also going to do a in-person social gathering, and this in-person social gathering will happen at the conference site, joined with all the other IGs as well. So this allows people from different IGs to mingle together at the conference venue. All IG also do activities outside the SMS annual conference, and what's really noteworthy in my view is the corporate strategy masterclass that we did launch in 2021. And Arkady is going to talk a little bit more about the corporate strategy masterclass in the next slide. And finally, we have an annual newsletter, and this annual newsletter will be published later this month or the beginning of September. Next slide.
Hello. I am Arkady Sakhartov, the Associate Program Chair for the Corporate Strategy Interest Group. I would like to thank the SMS office for organizing this year's conference and for running this virtual meeting, and you all for participating in our business meeting. I will now briefly talk about the innovation in our group, which is the Corporate Strategy Masterclass, which was launched approximately a year ago. And this effort was pioneered by our representative at large and our group's engagement officer, Kathy Megelson, and now Elisa Alvarez Garriga, also our representative at large, participates in this initiative and is taken off as the new corporate strategy group engagement officer. So far, we have had 5 master classes. They have been very well attended and continue to be watched on YouTube. Those were the evolution of corporate with Connie Halford and David T. speaking, diversification, Robert Hoskison and Belan Villalonga speaking in that masterclass, organizational design run by Panish Puranam, theories of the firm by Brian Silverman and Todd Zenger, and the very recent masterclass on resource reallocation that was run by Tim Folter and Brian Wu. Next slide, please. Yeah, now we already have one masterclass scheduled for December 13th, where Emily Feldman and Asim Kaul will speak on divestiture, and another masterclass tentatively scheduled for January, where Laurence Capron and Melissa Greibner will talk about mergers and acquisitions. We have several more masterclasses in work by Katie and Elisa, but we will not announce the agenda and the dates today because some work is still running in those additional masterclasses, which we will have next year. And now I think that I will pass to Cindy.
Thank you so much, Arkady. I'm Cinziana Dorobanțiu. I just want to say hi to everyone and thank you for joining us today for the business meeting. I'm going to talk briefly, give you an overview of the main program. Actually, Arkady and I are going to go back and forth talking about the main program and the Sunday sessions and the workshop, but just kind of the main program for the corporate strategy IG at a glance. We had 92 proposals submitted to our corporate strategy track. More than 148 reviewers provided feedback on those proposals, and I'm guessing that if you're here at the business meeting, you were one of them. So thank you so much for reviewing the proposals and for helping us decide which proposals to include in the conference program. Just slightly over half of the proposals submitted who were accepted. So not 52% was the actual acceptance rate. Since we've made those decisions, a few proposals were withdrawn from the conference. People have conflicts and are no longer able to make it. So the actual number of proposals is just shy of 52% of the 92 that we started with. As Tony already mentioned, in addition to the proposals that got accepted to the conference and were grouped into sessions, we have this interest group session, three interest group sessions, also called Sunday sessions, and one paper development workshop. And then the proposals that we received were grouped in 12 sessions. There were actually 8 paper sessions and 4 common ground sessions across these different proposals. So I'll pass it because traditionally the interest group sessions come first in the chronological order of the conference program. I'll pass it on to Arkady to tell you a little bit more about that, and then I'll tell you more about the topics of the sessions that we are organizing for the track.
Thank you, Cindy. I think that we have an amazing program for Saturday and Sunday in which our representative and in large participate and made substantial commitment. Some of these sessions are co-organized with other interest groups. And this traditionally has been so that, for example, Saturday workshop is organized by multiple groups. And you can see on this slide that together with us, competitive strategy, cooperative strategy, entrepreneurship and strategy, and knowledge and innovation also participate in Saturday workshop, which will happen on September 17th. And specifically on our side, several representatives and large were involved in preparing this workshop, particularly Oliver Baumann and Philip Mayer-Doyle. So, and the workshop will be titled Strategies for an Open World Junior Scholar Paper Development Workshop. We also have 3 Sunday sessions where our representative in large took part. The first one is chaired by Philip Mayer-Doyle, and it is named Micro Foundations of Corporate Strategy and organized with Strategic Human Capital. The second session, Corporate Strategy and Artificial Intelligence, is organized by our 2 representatives in large, Oliver Baumann and Zena Wells-Guerra. And the third workshop is a joint effort by our group and Entrepreneurship and Strategy group, and will be led by Chiara Spina from the side of Entrepreneurship and Strategy and by Oliver Baumann on our side. And the title for this third session is Experimentation and the Scientific Method in Launching and Scaling Entrepreneurial Firms. Now, there may be in the program, which will be, which is already available on the SMS site, at least to us, and which will be maybe updated in the next few days. There may be some differences in terms of the list of the panelists, but we will make sure that the actual people who will participate in the sessions are eventually reflected in the program. I think that I will now pass to Cindy.
Okay, so in addition to these special sessions, the proposals that were submitted to the SMS conference were grouped. The ones that were accepted are grouped in 12 sessions in our track, and here are the titles of those sessions. I want to highlight just one thing that you can see on the slide that these sessions essentially include very well-established topics in corporate strategy, such as diversifications, merger and acquisitions, divestiture, organizational design, and so on, as well as some sort of newer topics that cross over into the domain of corporate strategy, including stakeholder partnerships, CSR strategies, and human capital deployment. So these, I believe the dates and times of the sessions are being finalized as we speak and will become available very, very soon. We will have the details of all these different sessions, including times and dates in our newsletter, which we hope to circulate to you at the very beginning of September. So watch out for that as well. All right. In addition to this, I want to say that one of the most exciting things of being a program chair for a track at SMS is to have the privilege to think about these proposals and select as a best proposal award. We had 5 finalists for the best proposal award in corporate strategy, and you can see them here. I'm going to actually spend the time and read to you the titles and the authors. I mentioned the authors. I wish we had more of these authors here. I know it's such a sort of tricky time right now because it's the day after most people just traveled back from AOM, or some people might be actually in the air. But I think it's worth mentioning that those five proposals. The first one is Firm Information Environment and Uniqueness Challenge of Corporate Strategy, authored by Kamiar Gudarzi. The second is How Anticipated Employee Adverse Behavior Affects Acquisition Likelihood, Evidence from a Quasi-Experiment, by Junman Lee, Jae-min Lee, and Jin-Kung Kang. The third is Global Competition, Technology Protectionism, and Firms' Relative Influence in an Innovation Ecosystem, King Chen. The fourth is The Effect of Acquisitions on Open Source Software Development, by Helgi Klapper, Michael Vetter, Joachim Henkel, and Henning Piezunka. And the fifth is called When Uber Eats Its Own Business and its competitors too, Platform Diversification and Cross-Platform Cannibalization, by Hugh David Chung, Yumegi Zhu, and Christine Choi. So congratulations to all the authors of these really outstanding proposals. It was a real pleasure reading them, and I encourage all of you to attend the presentations at SMS as well. And one of them, unfortunately, while 5 are finalists, only one can be a winner. And the winner of the SMS 2022 Best Proposal in Corporate Strategy is When Uber Eats Its Own Business and Its Competitors too, Platform Diversification and Cross-Platform Cannibalization, by David Chung, Maggie Zhu, and Christine Choi. Congratulations to them. Once again, I wish they were here. But of course, they will be acknowledged in our newsletter and at the SMS conference as well. Okay, with that, I want to pass it back to Tony, who will tell you about sort of the next steps for IIG, including the elections.
Thank you, Cinzia. Thanks so much. So we'll be running election for our IIG's next class of leaders for the next 2 years, 2023 and 2024. So for any given IG within SMS, usually, we would elect a new assistant program chair, and then the associate program chair will move up to be the program chair the following year, and then will advance to the chairperson of the IG the following year. And in addition to electing an associate program chair, we also elect 3 representatives at large for the IG, and then these roles will be helping the associate program chair in creating those Sunday sessions, those PDWs, and also the engagement activities outside of the conference. So this year we are very happy to be able to nominate these 8 people for the next leadership team, the next class of leadership team for IG. The 2 candidates for associate program chair are Ran Ranganathan from UT Austin, and also Minran Zhao from Washington University in St. Louis. The 3 candidates for the 3 role positions, they are the following people. So Teresa Dickler from IE Business School, Daniel Quinn from Columbia University, Paul Neri from the University of Pennsylvania, the Wharton School, Malo Ravindran from UC Riverside, and also Marco Testoni from Tilburg, and finally Elena Vidal from CUNY Baruch College. So I wanted to say thank you to all the candidates, and some of them for also joining the business meeting today. Teresa, Marlo, and Paul, and thank you for joining our IG meeting today. But I wanted to thank everyone for participating in this election. The ballots will be sent out by the SMS, I believe, in the beginning of November. And all the members will have the opportunity to cast your vote by the end of November, I believe. And then we'll be able to know the results in the beginning of December. And then we'll disseminate that information through widely through our IG's emails. So with that, I would move to the next slide. I'll pass on to Arkady.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. This has become a tradition to conclude our meeting by learning opinions of our members on 3 essential topics. The first is concerned with research. The second is about new topics that we can bring into our teaching, and also about the way in which our interest group is organized. Two of our representatives at large, Elisa Alvarez Garrida and Susan Perkins, will help us with being leaders in the breakout rooms. So we will now go to the breakout rooms and discuss these 3 questions. Please feel free to share your opinions. This is very important for us because this will have an impact on how our group will develop next year or this year. Thank you. I think that we are now ready to pass this to the breakout rooms.
All right, great. I'm going to go ahead and make these live and send you off for about 15 minutes, and you'll get a warning when you need to come back. Let me just move one person over. There we go. Enjoy. Welcome back. Hope everyone had a good conversation. Good. Welcome on back. Hello. Everyone got to have some good conversation, meet some new folks, maybe reconnect with some people. Great.
I think we do, yeah.
Good.
So I hope everyone has had a good discussion. Clearly in my Zoom room, we had some interesting discussions. And one of the questions that we haven't had a chance to discuss too much about, but I think it would cut across hopefully all the breakout rooms, is what the IG can do, or what additional things the IG can do to be more helpful to our current and future members. I was thinking that maybe we could have a broader discussion about that topic, and maybe the evolving, state of the IG over the years. And we have actually my predecessor Mario here too, and who knows a little bit more about the history of the IG more than I do. And I'm just thinking that we can have this larger discussion about the IG as well in this last maybe 5 to 10 minutes.
I have a question. Yeah, I think I just want to make a comment, kind of share with me. You kind of know, because what I wanted, I want to know what is the editor's perspective, the current, perspective about IG, and then so we kind of focus on that, so we can publish, papers in the journals. So that's I guess that's my question, the editor's perspective of the field.
That's a great question. So I'll see. We have editors in this room, and maybe let's invite some editors to share the views first.
Who's the editor? I'm sorry.
We have Cindy, who is the associate editor for AMJ, and Cindy, if you could, share a little bit about your thought. Appreciate it.
Well, Sonny, I think it's a great question, but can you maybe ask it in a very specific way? Like, what is it that you're looking for?
So my guess is that, like the corporate strategy we talk about is kind of broad. So in our discussion, in our small discussion, we discuss what topic we're going to focus about. At the AOM, they talk about the human capital, they talk about resource allocation. It is still broad, when it's still in. So any suggestion, anything that you think, as a scholar, is kind of focused more is things that people are not looking at, stuff like that.
So I don't want to speak on behalf of every editor out there, because every single editor is different, and I think that's something that we've all learned through our experiences as authors. But I will say, I think the conversation usually kind of takes the shape of journals are always looking for research that broadens the scope of a particular sort of theme. So if anything, how can we think about corporate strategy even more broadly? And in our small breakout group, we talked about connections between corporate strategy, the way it's been defined by existing research, and CSR and partnerships with non-market organizations, and how these things can be actually integrated with existing theories in corporate strategy. So any kind of research, any kind of papers that broaden the scope and push kind of the frontiers of an existing topic, as well as research that kind of goes deeper and tries to get more precise in terms of identifying some of the ideas that we have had around for a long time, and that sometimes that means better methods, better data, maybe some boundary conditions. so you can think about it on both, both dimensions, so just going broader and then, but then also going deeper in specific, well-established areas and research questions.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'll talk about maybe from a sort of a reviewer and author perspective. I do feel corporate strategy is still a very vibrant, topic for journal publications, and of course depends on what do we mean by corporate strategy, and how do we go beyond the classic topics of scale and scope and the role of the corporate office, the role of the general manager, creating an organization to marshal resources together to compete in the marketplace. So that's the sort of the classic topics. But then, we have new phenomena, emerging, certainly including CSR and political strategy, but also including other forms of organizations like platforms and ecosystems and the so-called blog, the small contracts, those things, which are also, topics I would say, of a lot of interest to corporate strategy editors or reviewers or authors.
Yeah, if I may, I would like to add, someone who actually works as a reviewer. I am on the editorial boards of several journals, as an ad hoc reviewer to multiple journals, and frame most of my papers as being about corporate strategy. I would like to also speak from my heart. I think that it is, I started feeling that it is becoming progressively more difficult to publish on fundamental topics in corporate strategy. There is this opportunity and tension between fundamental topics of corporate strategy, which is still about corporate scope, and new phenomena like corporate social responsibility, platforms, ecosystems. So there is an opportunity for cross-pollination, but there is also a tendency for forgetting about the fundamental topics, which is still corporate scope. So as far as we move to new agendas and abandon the fundamental topics, we are at risk of losing identity. And there will be very little in how we write from how the corporate strategy area is defined. So the trick is, how can we talk about new topics, but without abandoning the language and the foothold, the base which has been established in over 50 years of research. Our area is old, very old. It's more than 50 years of research, probably dating back to Chandler, 1962, Edith Penrose, 1959, and of course, Richard Rammelt, 1974. How we can avoid abandoning the wisdom of those original pieces in corporate strategy and apply them to new, interesting, exciting phenomena, so that we preserve our identity and continue to be corporate strategy researchers. This is probably the trick which needs to be addressed very carefully.
And Arkady, if I can actually give a quick response to that, that was the sort of your comment and thinking about this was the initial motivation for the corporate strategy masterclass, because I think in the process of becoming very, very, I don't know, authors being under pressure to always keep on top of the frontier of research, we forget about the foundations of it, and many PhD students don't spend enough time reading the foundational works. So it was an effort to say, okay, can we actually provide some of those ideas to everyone through a masterclass, which is a modified version of a virtual PhD program.
I have to add quickly that Xingzi was the person who created the idea, pioneered this idea, and then Katie from LBS was the pioneer in putting together the first few sessions of master classes. And then also we have Alisa joining as IG's engagement officer in creating additional master classes. And thank you so much for doing this.
So if you have, if you know, you've already seen on the, and it's going to be on the in the newsletter as well. If you there's five master's classes that are already out there. They're on YouTube. There's two sort of with dates almost set, and then two more that Elisa is working on. So thank you, Elisa. If you have ideas for specific topics, if you feel like something is missing, or we should have a second master class on a specific topic that goes beyond or deeper, or adds on to the first on any of the topics, I think that's exactly what we're trying to do with that set of sessions.
Could I add one quick thing? And this sort of, I think, brings together Tony's point and Arkadiy's point. and I think sort of indeed the management side of corporate strategy. I really like that idea of looking at corporate headquarters, what people do in the head office, what the corporate managers do different from the competitive, from the business level managers. That would, I think, really be in line with the fundamentals, with the foundations, and focus on the scope, right? What the corporate people do as opposed to the business level people, but also bring in this, something else, right? There has a, I mean, there must be, I think we need to do more research on what actually happens in corporate headquarters. Yeah, that would be very interesting to me, and I think there's a lot to do there. But
are you talking about leadership, Mario?
yeah, I guess essentially, I'm doing some research on, in corporate strategy and how sort of the corporate development office within corporate headquarters helps to manage the integration of acquisitions and the divestment of existing businesses, stuff like that, which I think, again, is sort of more the management side of strategy, really the strategic management part of corporate strategy. Yeah, which is, again, the foundations, but also something that, more the management process side or the strategy process side.
Yeah, that's a great point. I totally agree. And I think it's not just about leadership, and maybe some of the leadership topics, but not all of the leadership topics. But if you think about, why, like CSR or sustainability, is becoming, so important in recent years, it really was, I think corporate managers in the corporate office, at least some of them that I know, they are thinking about those questions. So what questions are in their mind on top of the traditional topics, let's say, entering into new business lines or acquisitions, or let's say, disruptive technologies, this other, newer things that, keep them having a good sleep at night. And those are questions that, we should, I think, do more research on, and we should, know more, and then we should pass on to the students.
Yeah, exactly. And also something else that I'm sort of doing research on, this distinction between, I mean, this management view helps us distinguish between different parts of corporate strategy. I think doing research on the distinction between corporate level acquisitions, right, which increase the scope of the firm, versus business level acquisitions, which is like 95% of all acquisitions, but don't increase the scope, increase the scale of existing business units, things like that. Existing literature sort of lumps all these different acquisitions together and considers them corporate issues. But I think, again, a focus on headquarters and in the hierarchy of the firm can help address those things.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we have 1 minute left. So let me do a 1 minute conclusion, if I could. So I just wanted to thank everyone for coming to the session today. I know it's a sort of an awkward time, right after the Academy of Management. and people are still traveling, and some people are able to join while they are still traveling. I really appreciate doing that. And we share a common understanding of what corporate strategy is, why corporate strategy is important, and why corporate strategy is the foundation, of strategic management in many ways, in my opinion, right? Also, before I conclude, I'd like to thank my predecessors, Mariel Shiven, who was the chairperson when I was elected as the associate program chair, and also Martin Sengo, who was the program chair when I was working as a associate program chair. By the way, he said he would have loved to come, but he's actually flying today, so he couldn't come to join the session today. I also like to thank the representative at large that I've been working with in the last 2 years. This include Alfonso, Sandra, Magdalena, Yujan, Arkady here. Arkady was a longtime supporter of the IG and also a representative at large, and also Utah Creepers as well. So those people I have had the pleasure of working with. Really enjoy working with them and learning about their views of corporate strategy. With that, I would suggest that we find a time to reconnect in person, maybe at the SMS or the Academy, or maybe next year's SMS in London, and then keep our conversations going and thinking about how to elevate the field, how to elevate the topic of corporate strategy. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you,
all.
Tony. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank you.
Amber.
Thank you.